Hello, everyone. Happy Taco Tuesday. Heather coming to you from Eugene, Oregon. Just wanted to hop on, see how you guys are doing. Let me know where you're tuning in from. Drop me a comment, say hello. Many of you guys have been following on my journey. I was actually just getting back from Dallas a couple days ago. I was stuck in the middle of that nationwide winter storm warning, which was really bad in Dallas, right? So I was kind of struggling coming back, because I tell you guys all the time, right? I'm not cured. I still got my lupus, my rheumatoid arthritis, fibromyalgia. When I travel or I'm in huge barometric pressure changes or I'm going from like sea level to high elevations, my lupus likes to come along and slap me on the behind and remind me that it's still there. And so I can do my best to try to combat as naturally as possible. I tell you guys all the time, it's a mind, body, soul approach. And so as I go through my days, I try to wake up with a grateful heart. But sometimes when you're feeling pain, like even like me, where I'm pretty solid with making sure I'm fighting my inflammation, like layers of an onion, I tell you guys, right? I start at my gut, make sure I'm breaking down that inflammation that's getting uplifted into my blood, that can get to the brain, that can make you think all crazy, because God knows I don't need any extra help in that department because I can get pretty crazy on my own. But as I was thinking about Taco Tuesday, food for thoughts, I was just kind of thinking about that saying, wherever you go, there you are. Because I was listening to I tell you guys all the time, right? I like to believe in self-development, prayer, meditation. I was listening to a Bible study as I was getting some stuff done around the house. And it said that statement again, wherever you go, where you are. And I was thinking to myself that, that applies in so many things in life, right? How many of you guys have sat in life and thought, you know what, gosh, I really just don't like where my life is going right now? Or maybe you feel a little confused about where your life is going. Drop me confused in the comments if that's you, right? So you're kind of like, I wonder what I'm doing. Or maybe you're like, gosh, I really just don't like this. I think there's a lot of people feeling that right now in the pandemic, because I'm not gonna lie, I have a lot of people reaching out to me and they're just like, this is crazy. Like, they joke around like, first was the pandemic and then the winter storm warnings coming. And here in Oregon, it was the fires during the summer. Like it just keeps going like this spiral. If it literally feels like it's spiraling for you, drop spiral in the comments, because sometimes it feels like that, right? Like it just keeps coming. The punches just keep coming. The hits keep coming. And so, I was thinking about it because one thing I realize is that I have old habits that sometimes like to pop up and that I try to smack down or try to change. And I'm always trying to create my new identity, the person I want to be now, because even though I am that super sick person, and that was one of the hats I wear, is that person who's chronically ill, I wear other hats in my life as well. Mom, Nana, sister, brother, or sister, well, I guess it can't be a brother, but sister, mother is what I meant, so all these different things that we are in our lives. And so sometimes we get so on autopilot, right, that we're not paying attention to some of the things that are going on. And it's okay, because sometimes we need to be on autopilot, because otherwise we'd lose our mind trying to keep track of all the extra little stuff that should be on autopilot, right? But with that being said, is that sometimes I realize when people reach out to me or they're talking to me, whether it be about their health, maybe they're dealing with chronic illnesses, because after, going viral on TikTok multiple times, I have all these different people reaching out to me, asking me about like how I changed my life, what am I doing? Depression, anxiety has overtaken them. Some of them are really just tired and ready to give up. Some of them are just warriors just like me, and they're going and picking up every single day. Sometimes it's relationship issues, whether it be with their children, their spouse, work. Maybe they don't like their job. Maybe they just, there's so many things that you can fill in the blank with, right? And so, as I talk to people, I tell you guys all the time, like I really strongly believe in a mind, body, soul approach. I believe that we have to be strong up here. And there's going to be days where it's whether the fluctuation of the weather, which causes the barometric pressure changes on our brain and the way it constricts and gives us headaches or makes us feel kind of, whether it be for like my sake, where I was, traveling back and forth. So my body's like, yeah, we don't like that. Or maybe it's extra, circumstantial stress that's going on in your life, right? All these things happen. And what I was realizing as I was sitting there thinking about it, as I'm like, so often I talk to people, right? And they talk about their circumstances. Maybe I talked to them today. Maybe I talked to them in a few months in the future. Maybe I talked to them last year. But a lot of the time I start to notice that a lot of things that are happening in their life, that I tell you all the time, that God repeats circumstances or situations until we learn or take away the lesson that's meant to be given to us, right? So I even catch myself sometimes with most old habits that come through because I'm guilty. I'm guilty of, I'm not perfect. I want to believe the good in everyone. I want to believe that I know that we are all precious jewels and that we are God's diamonds inside, and we all have just so much possibility and just things inside of us that if we unlock, they could be amazing. So I'm guilty at times because I can see that. And sometimes I hold on to the vision of the person that I see because I see them at their full potential. I don't maybe necessarily see them at where they're at right now. And so, I was thinking about that whole wherever you go, there you are, because whether it be you being the person evaluating your life and realizing that it seems like a lot of the same circumstances keep replaying themselves in your life, that maybe you might want to do a little self-reflection because either A, maybe something you're allowing to be acceptable in your life is what's attracting that back in. Maybe it's B, that it's just people, I'm going to tell you, takers like to take. Takers don't usually have any boundaries is unfortunately the thing. And so when givers are willing to give, takers are going to take as much as they can because that's what they do. So maybe there's somebody that comes along and they take advantage of you, or you start to repeat those type of people in your life that come in and, you've got a grateful heart and you're trying to be gracious and forgiving and giving and and all this stuff, and there's going to be some people that come right along and they're like, thank you very much, and they're like shoving it in their bag and they're see ya, nothing reciprocated, right? So I wanted to talk with you guys a little bit about it because something on it just spoke to my heart today. I was thinking to myself that there's been times in my own life where I've looked at it and thought, why am I here again? Like, this feels eerily similar, different maybe people or circumstances, but same kind of idea. If you've ever had that, drop idea in the comments, right? Where it's almost like a deja vu feeling. You're like, gosh, this feels awfully familiar. And sometimes we have to reflect and figure out what it is that might be in us that is attracting those old habits. I mean, I tell you guys all the time, like, when people reach out and they're like, oh, why are you single? Why are you not going out there? It's because I learned my lesson. Like, I don't look for love in the wrong places anymore. Like, back when I was younger, Heather, that I didn't make the best decisions in some of my dating choices as a teen, I thought I knew what I wanted, or I thought I knew who had my best interest in mind. I thought the friendships that I had maybe were going to be like people who cared about me just as mutually. And then you start to realize that maybe some people don't have your best interest in mind. And so when I grew up, of course, right, we like to think that we're learning our lessons along the way. But sometimes when you want to see the good in people, that just naturally you do set yourself up to be, if you're a giver, taken advantage of because takers are going to take. Or maybe you just have that heart that can see, like I said, like I can. I'm like, oh, that person's got a lot of potential. And you're seeing the potential in them, but you're not seeing maybe the way they're behaving now. And so as a person looking onto it and trying to figure out like who we should allow in our circle of trust, we want to open up our eyes. Now, we don't want to be so skeptical that we don't trust nobody and nobody gets any second chances, because we should be forgiving. And I'm all about like, hey, if you come to me and say I did wrong, or I'm sorry, it was misunderstanding, I'm all about that, right? But I actually posted a thing today. I mean, if somebody keeps doing stuff that seems shady or doesn't have your best interest or is disrespectful to you, chances are that's a character flaw in them. That's who they are. That's not just something that coincidentally keeps happening, right? So at that point, it'd be my responsibility, because I control the power around me in my life. I can't control everyone else, but I can control who I let my circle, right? So if somebody is coming along and they're treating me or misbehaving me or doing things that are not in my best interest, and I'm not saying that we should be takers in return, like, and be like, flip it around and be like, okay, well, I'm going to take what I need from you. If you don't give me what I want, I don't want. No, but if we're going through our lives trying to be the best version of ourselves, really genuinely trying to bring value to the world, whether it be smiles, happiness, just joy, some kind of value, benefit to people's lives. And the ones that we are focusing most on seem to be siphoning that from us versus replenishing it, like reciprocated. Don't get me wrong, there's going to be seasons where you're the one who's giving and somebody might be taking, and vice versa. Maybe something's going on in your life and then you need to take a little bit. You need to sponge off some people sometimes so that you can get through your times, right? But if you're starting to notice that the situations seem a little eerie, how they keep repeating themselves, you might want to do some self-reflection and figure out what it is that's either A, causing you to attract that, or B, letting it in. Like, because there's all kinds of things. It could be our environment. We are all, unfortunately, and as much as we try not to be, and I tell people that our circumstances growing up, the people who we were, the families we came from, the cultures, those are things that do sometimes condition us. But we have the awesome freedom of choice that if that's not what we want to be, then we can change ourselves from being that. We can move forward. Maybe we came from a violent family or an alcoholic or abusive or drug addiction. That's not us. That's something that happened in our past or with our family, but that's not us moving forward, right? So I don't know what it was about today, but I was just kind of feeling it because I was thinking to myself that if you're feel like you're running and you're running as fast as you can forward, trying to figure out what it is, find that person, find that relationship, find that job, find that circumstances, find that goal. If you're running constantly and you just feel like, gosh, I'm running and I'm just not getting there. And then you stop and you kind of take a breath and look around, you're going to realize that it's wherever you go, you're still there. So if you are the root of the issue, or you're allowing things to take plant in soil that belongs to you, then you're going to start to notice that no matter where you go, those circumstances are going to come with you until you take the steps to change those circumstances. If you're feeling sick and you're feeling hopeless, what are you going to do to try to educate yourself, to try to feel better, to try to look at other avenues? Are you just going to take whatever medications doctor gives you? And don't get me wrong, I don't want to ever come off like I don't like doctors, because it's not like that at all. I love my specialists. I know they were doing the best they could. It's not like I'm anti-pharmaceutical or anything like that. I'm just saying is that is an example. Maybe you're not taking anything and you're letting your body and your mind just go crazy, and you're lashing out and you're not healthy to you or anyone else. Again, same circumstances. What are you doing to take the steps to change your circumstances? The thing is that many times people go through life and they think they're moving forward, because we're going to constantly evolve, whether we choose to or whether we just sit still. It's still, evolution is going to happen with or without us. And sometimes we start to notice we're still holding on to the same old patterns, and then we don't understand why things aren't changing. And the thing is the idea of insanity is doing the same thing over and over again and expecting a different outcome. And so I'm not sure who needed to hear that. If that sounded like something that spoke to you, give me a high five, like a 5 saying, yeah, I hear that. Or maybe I know what you're talking about. Is that there's sometimes things in our lives that we're doing or we're allowing to be done that if we don't put the kibosh on it, it's just going to keep happening. And then we sit there and wonder, why is this happening in our life? Why do I end up in deadbeat relationships or with people who are takers and taking from me? Or maybe I'm the taker. Why do I find myself feeling yuck because I don't like the way I behave and I'm not nice to people? Or maybe find yourself apologizing all the time. Instead of apologizing, what is it that you can do in your life to change what's happening, to be proactive, to say that I don't want to be that person anymore. I don't want to be that jerk off that's lashing out. I don't want to be that person who's using my circumstances as excuses of why I can be the person I am, and maybe it's not the best version of myself. Whether it be in your relationship, whether with a spouse, with children, with your business, with your job. If you want to change things and you're tired of that yucky feeling in your life, the question is what changes are you willing to make? What small habits are you willing to start creating in your life, and which ones are you willing to get rid of? Because sometimes it's going to keep being like a magnet, pulling those same habits, same thoughts, same things back in, if you're constantly just going with what you remember or what you're used to. And so I don't know if that spoke to you. If you got any value out of that, drop value in the comments. But I just was feeling it today because, a lot of us go through lives. And I was guilty of it at one point where I'd be like, gosh, all this crappy stuff happens sometimes. Sometimes it really is just crappy, no matter how good you are. And sometimes that's just the enemy coming upon us, that when we're on this strong journey and we're doing great things, that there's going to be it's almost like one of those Super Mario games, where you're trying to run through the maze or something and they're throwing stuff at you. Or maybe it was like the King Kong thing where you're throwing the barrels at you, right, as you're trying to dodge them. And that's what it feels like sometimes in life when you're trying to get on the right path, or if you are on the right path and maybe you're running full steam in the direction that God has called you to, and there's the enemy just sitting up there with the barrels throwing them down as you're trying to dodge them left and right, and so sometimes that's just how it feels for us. And if you start to notice that you're feeling that a lot more often than usual, you might want to go ahead and kind of self-reflect and figure out, is there something that you could be possibly contributing to that? Don't get me wrong, being open-hearted, loving, caring, compassionate, those are all great traits to have. But if being that way, being that giver, not having those boundaries of your own is allowing ooze to come in, that's saturating your soul and pulling you down and making you that yuck feeling, then you might want to reevaluate, because you're not doing anybody any favors if you're allowing people to behave that way and think it's okay, and you're not doing yourself any favors by letting yourself be in that position. Because then what do? You start to self-loathe. You might beat yourself up. Did it again. How do I get myself in these messes? So, I wanted to share that with you guys, because it might be something somebody needs to hear right now, is that maybe the circumstances in our lives, maybe it could do some reflecting, figure out if we need to be taking back some of the power in our lives, and figuring out what it is that we can do to break the cycle if we don't want to keep trying to relive those circumstances, that you want to learn the lesson and you want to move on. And so anyways, guys, I hope you guys are having a fabulous Taco Tuesday. And like I said, let me know where you're tuning in from. If you got any value from this, just say hi. I'll talk to you guys all soon. God bless.